Chicago has a lot of iconic foods, but none might be as internationally recognized as the Chicago hot dog, or the Chicago dog. Now, the Chicago dog is more than just a beef tube nestled in between wheat matter. It tells the story of a city largely built by immigrants, each adding their own touch to the flavor mix along the way. So today we're gonna take a closer look at the Chicago dog. We'll talk about ingredients, history, some fun facts, and in the process, attempt to make one ourselves completely from scratch. I mean it, from American yellow mustard to neon green relish, we're gonna craft everything. Then at the end of the video, we'll take a little field trip to grab a real Chicago dog from a spot and kind of compare the two and see how we did. Maybe you're wondering, why would I be doing this when I can go spend like $3 and get one from one of the many joints located around the city? We literally have more hot dog stands here in Chicago than there are McDonald's, which is kind of crazy. My answer? I don't have one. It's for the love of the game. So in a past video, I got to take a trip to one of the most iconic Chicago hot dog brand factories and literally see how the sausage was made. While some hot dogs are made from either beef, pork, chicken, or a mix thereof, a Chicago dog has to be 100% beef. Which is because Austrian Jews who migrated to Chicago in the 1890s didn't eat pork. So they took it upon themselves to make their own sausages and get into the sausage business. I guess folks all over the city, no matter what color or creed, really did enjoy the all-beef hot dog because to this day, the Chicago dog is an all-beef dog. You're not gonna find one made with pork anywhere. Fun fact, the Chicago hot dog was first sold by 2 Austrian-Hungarian immigrants at the World's Fair in 1893. And the company that they would start would be none other than Vienna Beef. And to this day, if you see a Vienna Beef sign in the window of the hot dog joint, you're gonna have a good time. It's good stuff. Let's make the dags. All right, so again, Chicago style hot dog, all beef, that's what we have here. We have lean beef that is slightly semi-frozen. This is just brisket that I trimmed up and cubed. Here is the brisket fat. Now, hot dogs are an emulsified sausage, which means that we have to emulsify the fat and the protein and get things nice and tacky and sticky. This isn't like a grainy brat or like a big grainy sausage. It should be smooth. So it's a little challenging, a little more finicky to do than usual. So we'll start by grinding the lean. I'm gonna fill the hopper up. We gotta grind this a few times. We're starting on a large die because we want this to be very fine. It's important to use a cold grinder too. Cold meat, everything should be cold for this to work well. Charcuterie. Take some of this meat, clear the hole. Very nice. All right, we're above 32. We're gonna get this in the cooler and let it chill out a little more before we grind it again. We do not want that fat to smear, so we're keeping things cold. If it smears, it can actually render out of your sausage and lead to a grainier hot dog. We're gonna switch out dies. Get a die out of there. Yes, sir. Smaller die on. This thing is still very cold. Now we're gonna get some of this fat going here. This fat is maybe a little too frozen. No such thing. Take some of the fat, put it back in, help push the rest out. Yeah. Look at that. Beautiful. Separated, not smearing, crumbly, cold as hail. All right. This can actually stay out at room temperature while we run our meat through 1 or 2 more times. All right, cold beef, going back in for a second grind with a smaller die. All right, look at that. So beautiful strands separated. I'm gonna pop this back on the tray and we're gonna pop it back in the freezer to get super cold again down to 32 Fahrenheit. And then we're gonna grind it one last time. Going in for the last grind. Cold beef. Beef strands. What did he call them?
Muscle pasta.
Muscle pasta. That's funny. That's comedy. Beautiful. Look at that fine. You can see it's kind of got that hot dog color already, honestly, without any spices or salts. But the strands are separated. And for the last time, before moving on to the next step, we will take our hot dog beef and pop it on a tray to go into the freezer to chill down. All right, we're gonna pop our cold beef in a food processor, along with some garlic and onion powder. Pink salt, this is a curing salt, not Himalayan. It's gonna give that hot dog that signature hue and kind of help preserve it, make it saltier. And of course, kosher salt. I have some ice here, I'm gonna add half of it. That looks good. Now we're gonna pop the lid on and give it a blitz. That's what I was scared of, but it's to be expected. It really, really helps when you're making an emulsified sausage to have a really beastly food processor. And while this thing is a beast, it's not quite a Roku, which is what they use in like restaurants and commercial grade, production facilities. So we are going to loosen the meat from this blade here and just keep processing it because we want this to be more minced. If I gotta take some out, so be it. As you can see, we're smashy, but we're not quite where we need to be. Come on, you got this. Now let's check it out. That's way better. So once our dog meat is nice and look how sticky that is, tacky, all that protein. Whoop. We're gonna add in our fat and our binder, which is potato starch, and the remaining ice. Pop that back on. Woo! Check it out. That is looking like the inside of a hot dog, am I right? Smooth, sticky, tacky beyond belief. Smells like a hot dog. This is kind of a version of what's called a Frankfurter in Germany, right? Frankfurters are usually made with pork and have a bunch of other spices in them. This is again, all beef, but it's also super mildly spiced. All we really added was garlic powder and onion powder. Oh man, it's so sticky. Dog meat. We got our dog meat. We got to put it in the stuffer. So, wet hand. I'm just going to, little piece by piece, stuff this down here so that there's no air holes, right? So if you do this kind of like in parts like I'm doing here, you're really not going to see a lot of air holes, which is good because we don't want bubbles in our sausage. Besides the hamburger, air holes are a hot dog's worst nemesis. Wet hands really does help the meat not stick to your hands. Okay, we're all locked and loaded. Pop this on our big boy. Cool. Crank that down a bit. There it is. Whoop. Coming on through there. So now, we gotta talk casing. At the Vienna Beef Factory, they use natural casing. What does that mean? It's animal intestine. In our case, sheep intestine. Hog casings are used for stuff like brat for larger, bigger, more robust sausages. Sheep casings, what we're using today, are the skinnier little guys. A little more delicate, a little more finicky to work with. Just one more element that makes this process tricky. So these are actually cool because they come on this tube here, which you can easily get on, but we're just gonna lube up our spigot. No pretty way to do that. And I'm gonna take my sheep casing here and just kind of finagle it off the tube, trying not to break it. There will be some busted sausages here. We are not charcuterie masters, but the tube helps. Gotta soak these in cold water overnight or in warm water for a couple hours, just to make sure they're really loose and not super dry. They come packed in salt. Don't want an overly salty glizzy. Boom, look at that. I'm gonna take the end, pull that a bit, looks good. Make sure to try to get the air out of that. Give it a tie. And then try to make that knot as close to the dog as possible. Okay.
And now we stuff.
Come on, mama. It's kind of all about applying pressure while trying to make sure that your sheep casing is being stuffed properly. I'm trying to keep my hand open, but it's tough. So focused. Hard to talk. Oh, we're getting an air bubble here. That's all right, I'll show you how to deal with those later. I'm just gonna take some water and wet this work surface too, this clean work surface to help the sausages slide around. Natural casing, as opposed to synthetic cellulose casing, which people use too. You know when you eat a hot dog and there's not snap to it, it's just like one sausagey round piece? That's because they use cellulose and then remove the casing, whereas this casing actually stays on and it gives the dog the signature snap that you pretty much need with the Chicago style, or really any good hot dog, I would say. This is going curiously smoothly. Something's got to happen soon. Oh, there it is. Okay, see, check this out. All right, our first bust. Yeah, we got pretty far without getting busted too hard. See that? That's fine. We're just gonna kind of keep pinching that sheepskin casing off and just continue the process, and we'll deal with that later. Or we can deal with it now. Nip it in the bud, right? I'm gonna cut that piece here. So just like, you know, any animal product, sheepskins are imperfect. So there could be some lumpier areas or areas that are smaller or wider than the rest. Making sausage will certainly test your resolve. Are we getting to the end here? We might be. Oh, perfect. I think we're actually finished now. Look at that. Almost the perfect amount of casing. Pinch that off. Give us plenty of room to tie a string. We'll pull that down, sorta. Give that a twisty poo. Look at that. You can actually water balloon tie that, which is nice. Snip. There you go. Dogs, baby. Let's give that a nice roll up. All right, so as you can see, it's not perfect. For our busted guy, I'm just gonna take the end here, squeeze, and just pinch that off. We got our hot dog coil here. I'm going to alternate by twisting away from my body. Using this as a measuring point, I will mark here. And now I will twist towards my body. And by alternating, you're gonna ensure that your sausages don't untangle on you, which is very annoying. There are air holes all over these glizzies here. With bigger sausages, you might go ahead and prick them all over the place. You don't really need to do that with the emulsified ones, but I am going to take my little cake tester here and just kind of prick wherever I see air holes. And as these dry out, the air will release and the cases are actually gonna adhere to the meat more. This will just help them not explode. Here in Chicago, at least Vienna beef and a lot of other great brands are smoked. However, they are cold smoked, which means they're smoked without actually cooking the dog for the smoke flavor. So we're gonna go ahead and cold smoke these, then we'll come back in here and finish them up. The challenge here is keeping the temperature of the grill at or below 90 degrees Fahrenheit for an extended period of time. In our case, just for an hour. Now, I understand most of us probably don't have a smokehouse in the backyard, or in my case, in the courtyard of my apartment. However, a friend of mine introduced me to this dope little device that allows us to turn any charcoal-fueled kettle-style grill into a cold smoker. It's called a smoke tube, and you fill it with wood pellets, just like you would a Traeger or any other pellet-style grill, light it up, then stick it on the bottom of your grill, and it burns at a low temperature, sort of nice and slow, kind of like a cigar. So now we're able to get a nice cold smoke on our dogs without cooking them for that perfect kiss of smoke flavor without it being overbearing. This thing has opened up a lot of doors for other cooking projects, so I just wanted to share it with you guys. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to pick one up to toy around with. The next step before actually cooking these dogs is to bag them and tag them in the chamber vac sealer. Or if you don't have one of those, just toss them in a Ziploc bag and ensure that they don't overlap. All right, so you're gonna wanna do this on medium suction so you don't flatten and destroy the hot dogs. Then pop them in the water bath at 145 degrees Fahrenheit for 1 hour. The gentle and consistent heat of the sous vide will ensure perfectly cooked dogs without any explosions. After the sous vide, the dogs are ready to go. You can now do with them whatever your heart desires. Grill them, steam them, eat them straight from the bag like an animal. I don't care, do your thing. This is America. All right. So at this point, our dogs are done. You can shock these in an ice bath, which will stop them from cooking. I'm gonna eat this right away, so I'm gonna take one pack, set it aside, and then take the remaining packs and just put them in the freezer rather, to cool down kind of quickly. And then you can honestly keep these in the freezer and then just thaw them when you need them, or put them in the fridge, eat them within the next couple days. They'll be fine, but we're storing them in the bag and their juices. Now we can open these puppies. Look at those little pinkies. Oh yeah. Slice them up and look at that. Our first doggo. Those look fun. Let's get a busted guy to break open here. Go ahead and slice them all off. Woohoo! That sure do look like a hot dog. Now, while I prefer Dijon or whole grain mustard on most things, I would say a Chicago dog is made with good old American yellow mustard. Anything with the word artisan in it, get it out of here. We want the OG classic, like crazy yellow stuff. So the addition of mustard was brought on by, you guessed it, the Germans, the mustard-loving Germans, sometime in the mid-19th century or so. Like I said, the Chicago dog didn't just become a thing overnight. Over the years, it kind of evolved into what it is today. Now, while back in the day, they probably used a whole grain style mustard, American mustard just was much more popular among Americans and with the American palate, probably because it's a little more mild in flavor, you know, the vanilla Americans. And because in the industrial food process, it's just cheaper to make. It's actually surprisingly easy to do from scratch, so let's do it. Medium heat, small saucepan. Yellow mustard, we got some water. We have the dried yellow mustard pow pow. These are just mustard seeds that have been ground up. Then we have our garlic powder, turmeric, and paprika. Helps with the color a little bit and the flavor, of course. And a pinch of kosher. We're just gonna whisk that all up. And we're gonna bring this to a simmer, and the mustard will actually thicken this liquid solution here. So we'll simmer it for 5 to 10 minutes and just kind of check on it. It might sputter a little bit, so be ready for that. So we're sputtering hard. We're gonna add in our vinegar, whisk away, and that'll thicken up a little more. We're gonna reduce that oh so slightly for another 10 or so. Smells like mustard. This is looking viscous enough. It's thinner now, but once it cools down, it will thicken. All right, into a container. Scrape all that good in there. And again, it looks thin, but it will thicken as it cools. Another important point to mention is mustard can be kind of bitter. So you're gonna wanna use cold ingredients. The water should be cold, and it should be cold off the jump. That's gonna help with the bitterness. Also, letting it kind of just hang out in the fridge for a day to a couple of days, honestly, would be best. That's gonna temp down the bitterness as well. Lucky for us, I went ahead and made a batch a couple days ago and put in this cute little squeeze bottle. This is what it should look like here. Let's decorate my hand. See, look at that. That is the perfect consistency. Oh, yeah.
I don't like it anymore.
Daddy. Chicago style neon green relish. This stuff is wild. There's probably no topping on this dog more iconic than the relish, and that's because, well, it's neon green. And I'm talking like uncomfortably green. Like it looks like one of the Hulk's bedside tissues. After he sneezed. According to food historian Bruce Craig from the book Made in Chicago by Monica Eng and David Hammond, this relish stems from an old American recipe meant to preserve cucumbers and was first seen at the 1928 exhibition game Between the Cubs and the Sox. I think it's a play on Piccadilly. I think it's Piccadilly. Whatever. Now, how it transformed from a regular green to a neon green over the years, nobody really knows, but it's probably, again, because of the good old industrial food complex. Food coloring can do some pretty crazy things, so let me show you. All right, so our relish consists of this here relish. Now, basically what I did was I took some bell pepper, some onion, and cucumber, blitzed it all up in a food processor with a little bit of salt. Then I took that mixture, popped it in a cheesecloth, and squeezed out as much jus, right, the veggie juice as I can. A lot of water is in the vegetables, don't forget that. So you're gonna have a lot of that little green kind of nasty liquid. Get rid of it. Then we're gonna pop this in the fridge overnight, let that salt continue to work its magic. And now is where we are. All this is a nice consistency. It's a nice color too, but there's still some water in these vegetational bowls. So I'm just gonna take all of that, give it a nice spanking, bad veggies, put that in a cheesecloth once more, and squeeze out the water once more. There's still so much in there, it's crazy. These veggies are bad people, squeeze out all the water. So you're not gonna get all of the water, I would say, but you can get, you know, a fat majority. Mosh it around, really try to get lots of it out. We will have opportunity to remove more water when we cook these things. Speaking of cooking these things, we must add things to a pot. Over medium heat, in a pan pot thing, we're going in with some white wine vinegar, followed by some agua. Then we have some turmeric and celery seed right in there. A bunch of shugs. And the salt, that's in the vegetables already. We're just gonna whisk that up till the sugar dissolves and simmer everything till this liquid makes a nice sweet brine. Now right now it's yellow, but soon it will be green. Now we're gonna bring this up to a boil and let it roll for 10 minutes. Now we can add in our relish bowl. That's nice there. Just gonna mix that all around. Look at that, taking on that yellowy turmeric color. And we're gonna continue cooking this down and just kind of simmer it for another few minutes until some of the liquid evaporates a little more. It gets a little thicker to that consistency we're looking for. All right, so you'll see this will actually start to go like a darker green too than that kind of vibrant vegetal green that we originally had. But soon it will turn neon. All right, that's looking good. Most of the liquid is cooked off, but you can still see we have some, that's okay. Great. We're just gonna take this off the hob before we finish it off. We're gonna let it cool down. So our relish is cooled off a little bit. It looks beautiful. It looks almost crystalline and delicious. But we gotta make a neon, and to do so, it's not magic. It's food dye. When you add yellow, I'm just gonna add some color and try to make it look neon. We're gonna go with some green first because green is green, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you see this in the store, it is extremely green. So that's kind of what we're going for. You know what? Maybe one little blue guy in there. Oop, oop, 2 little blue guys. Hopefully it doesn't turn blue. That's the color. Almost immediate, huh? Slosh it around until it looks neon. Man, the blue really did help it turn. It's crazy looking, just like at the stove. What do you think, Frankie? That green enough for you?
A little more.
I think maybe like a tiny bit more. See what the green does to that thing? I don't know, that looks like Hulk snot to me, am I right? All right, check this out. Look at that. That is neon if I don't say so myself. It should be almost creepy. Pop that in a jar, call it a day. So sport peppers are a regional food that you really don't see outside of the Midwest. Sadly, sport peppers are kind of rare because of a lot of different reasons. For one, they really didn't get any national marketing push, so they're just not that popular. 2, they're actually really hard to grow, and because they're not popular, the cost of labor to pick them and to grow them is tough. It just makes it not worth it, which is a shame because they're fun little guys. But if you go to literally any grocery store here in Chicago, you're gonna be able to pick up a jar of pickled sport peppers. They're slightly spicy, very acidic, they're crunchy. I love them. Side note, they rip in a tuna salad or in a sandwich if you just mince them up a little bit. So Made in Chicago tells us that the sport peppers are believed to be a product of the Great Migration, when blacks migrated from the south to the north to big cities like, Chicago, Boston, New York. Another theory is that they were brought to Chicago sometime in the 1800s when the railroad connecting Chicago and Mexico was finished being built. There were tamale stands at the World's Fair, so it kind of might make sense. So this is what they look like here. Good old sport peppies. So when I say homemade hot dog, I mean homemade. I actually bought these seeds for these peppers on the internet, sprouted them from seedling, and then grew them. But it wasn't that easy because I actually accidentally left the seedlings in my car on a hot summer day one time for like an hour and they all died. That was sad. But I ran it back, and finally when the seeds were good enough, I gave them to my mom, who has this incredible garden, and she grew them and she nursed them to what they are today, made these little peppies, and here we are. The entire journey literally was months. These are actually from last September, right? Long time ago. But they're pickled, they're truly pickled, right? These are actually like real deal picks, not quick pickles, which we'll talk about later, so they're gonna last. Turns out they're not actually super flavorful, but that changes when you pickle them. They kind of take to the pickling liquid nicely and kind of it brings out their natural like small amount of spice. They're not super spicy. We literally sanitized the jars, made a special brine, and cleaned the hell out of these peppers so that they wouldn't rot in the jar. Now, if you're a psycho like me, I'll provide links to where you can buy the seeds online and sprout these boys yourself and make some from scratch. But if you're a regular person without mental issues, I can also leave a link for where you can buy these just like in the jar so they're ready for you. All right, we gotta talk about the remaining ingredients. The other elements of the Chicago dog are the pickle, onion, tomato, and celery salt, and the poppy seed bun. The pickle spear was added along the way through Central and Eastern European influence and a love for pickles, which is actually something that Americans shared as well, so the pickle just kind of made sense. It's just long enough for the hot dog so you get a little bit of crunch with every bite. All right, so these are our dill pickle spears, right? Kosher dills, Jewish deli style. This is what we'll call a quick pickle, right? So basically what I did was I took some cucumber, I sliced them up, and then I made a quick brine with vinegar, sugar, salt, water, a couple spices, some garlic. and then I poured that hot brine over the cucumbers, closed it up, and left it in the fridge for about a week, just so that vinegar and that solution can work into the pickles and make them pickles. That crunchy, vinegary John that we all know and love. These are not classically made pickles, kind of like our sport peppers, right? These won't preserve on the shelf at room temperature for a long time, but it's a great, fast, easy, and efficient way to make pickles. They're a little more fresh than the straight up pickled kind because they're a little like crunchier, I would say. I really enjoy them. But yeah, super easy to make. I'll leave a recipe in the description of this video for you. The tomatoes, when they're in season, add a touch of sweetness, which is why you'll see signs all over joints that say no ketchup allowed. Ketchup on a hot dog, in Chicago at least here, is a no-no, but you probably already knew that. It's a whole thing. Do what you want. You're an adult, right? At the end of the day, ketchup does not belong on a Chicago-style hot dog. Other hot dogs, sure, but not a Chicago style. Tomatoes were likely added by Greek, Italian, and/or Jewish immigrants who all competed to sell the fruit in their Maxwell Street Market produce stalls, where people would shop for goods, foods, tchotchkes, and there was live music playing. It was a vibe. It's actually pretty cool. You should Google it. Maxwell Street. Very important piece of Chicago history, food and otherwise. Next is the onion, which again was added by either the Germans, Greeks, Jews, or Italians. We just don't really know. This sandwich, yes, it's a sandwich technically, is a cross-cultural thing. Then there's the celery salt. Now, the celery salt is an ingredient, in my opinion, it's responsible for the dog's signature aroma. It instantly triggers nostalgia in any Chicagoan, whether they know it or not, right? It's the sugar on top, but the celery salt on top. Then last but not least, we got a poppy seed hot dog bun. Not a sesame seed bun, not an everything bagel bun, not a plain bun, a poppy seed bun. This addition was likely brought on by Eastern European Jews in their baking traditions where, yes, a lot of poppy seeds are used. The bun should be white, it should be fluffy, it should be soft, a little steamy when you're eating into the dog. It's delicious. A perfect host for the deg and the toppings. Poppy seed buns. Very important that these things are soft, fluffy, and it's white bread essentially. We're adding a bit of a twist. We're doing sort of a milk bread vibe just so it's extra cushy and fluffy and perfect for our dogs. We gotta start by mixing some stuff. Into the bowl of a stand mixer, whole milk, H2O. These liquids are warm. It's gonna help ferment faster. We're going in with our shugs, yeast, instant yeast, and Earl neutral oil, grapeseed. But we're not done yet, no siree. All-purpose flour, and milk powder. Adding the solids on top of the liquids makes things mix up easier. Dough hook. We're gonna mix this up until the dough just comes together, then we're gonna cut the machine and let it rest for 20 minutes in a step called auto-leasing. All right, we're gonna cut that, lower that down. Now we'll let that auto-lease from 15 to 20 minutes to develop that gluten, which is just gonna make mixing a lot easier. All right, 20 minutes has elapsed. What we're gonna do now is add in le salt. Spank that salt. Then we're gonna pop our dough hook right back on there. I'm gonna tell you what. Raise it up and continue until we have a nice elastic, smooth ball of dough. This should happen much quicker than if we were to not auto-lease. Looks good to me. So this is our dough here. And yes, it is kind of a wet dough. It's quite sticky indeed, even though, look at that, it's nice and smooth. So we're just gonna ball that up. Okay, so for best results, I would let this proof in the fridge overnight. However, you could make this day of by letting it proof at room temperature for 1 to 2 hours, then portioning it, then baking it right away. I'm not gonna stop you. I went ahead and fermented a batch of this dough yesterday. So we will get this out. It's just gonna help develop flavor, make it a little more tasty. So now what we're gonna do here is take our dough, look at that. It's much more fermented. The gluten is at really time to hydrate. And this is straight out the fridge. It's still pretty cold, but there's our dough. So now we're just gonna divide this into 6 even pieces. You can do this by eye or you can scale it out if you want like exact buns. Usually I'll do this by eye, cook from the heart, but with buns, you kind of want them to be uniform. So we'll start by weighing this thing. All right, 707. Alexa, what's 707 divided by 6?
707 divided by 6 is approximately 117.8333.
117.8333. Good, because I can't do math good. So we'll do 117. Just try to kind of eyeball it to get a starting point here. The worst starting point ever. Oh, we were close, weren't we? 117. All right, so we're portioned out. This dough's on the sticky side. You can use a little oil, but a little water will work too. Kind of semi-moist hands. I'm just gonna roll these into nice little balls here. Shape them up nice like. All right, so now that they're in balls, we're gonna make them ovals. Just makes our life a little easier. This is not our final shaping, but we are just going to let these rest on the bench for about 10 minutes so they're a little easier to work with. Cover them up so they don't dry out. A little bit of oil on the clean bench. Just help that dough from start sticking too much. So we're gonna take one of our little guys here, and we're just gonna press it out. Roughly the length that you want the the bun to be. All right, so see how it's about that long? That's a good bun length, I would say. Little rectangle. I'm gonna take the ends here, and I'm gonna press them and smear them onto the bench. So I can take our other side and tightly roll that in. These are going to catch and stick to the bun easily. Then you can kind of work in sides. Work in that side. Pinch it closed. It's very wet dough, so it should be able to pinch easy. And you can kind of turn it over. Give it a roll ski, and boom, look at that. You got yourself almost like a breadstick, but as this proofs and when it bakes, it'll blow up to look more like a bun. So you're basically gonna rinse and repeat this with however many dog buns you wanna make. Boom. We're just gonna cover this up and let them proof for 30 minutes to an hour, just until they get puffy and like almost double. All right, looks like our buns have proved, or proofed if you're in America. Now we gotta poppy acidify them. So I got some just good old H2O here. We're gonna give these a nice spritz. It's gonna help those poppy seeds adhere. And these are poppy seeds. Check that out. Don't eat too many of those before a drug test. I'm just gonna crush our Bungemans with poppy seed because I hate when they fall off. One last little dusting. Cool. And these can go right in the oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 18-20 minutes, or until an internal temperature of 190 degrees Fahrenheit. Swing. Schwung. Beautiful. Big mustard dot in the middle of the screen.
Thank you for handling.
Got it? All right. Woo! Looking like hot dog buns. I like that, I like that, I don't hate that. Cool. So we're just gonna let these cool out on a wire rack. Let these things cool before you slice into them. Don't slice into them piping hot. I know it seems like you should, but you shouldn't, right? These things need some time here, and look at that. A lot of our poppy seeds stuck on, that's nice here. This guy.
Squiggly one?
Yeah, I kinda like the ones that are curved. Curved slightly to the left, you know? Nothing wrong with that. But yeah, hot dog buns. All right, we got our steamy, squishy buns here. Ready to go, gummy. I just warm these up like this. If you're taking your dogs out of the fridge, you can use a steamer or something similar, or you can even just simmer them to get them warm. At the spots here in Chicago, unless you get a char dog, which is grilled, they're gonna come like steamy and warm. So however you wanna get that done, there's a lot of ways. All right, I think it's finally TTB. Time to build. Poppy seed bun down. We are going to cut that in the center and see what we got. Steamy glory. We're gonna go in with our Gliswold. Couple slices of tomato. We're gonna pop our neon green relish right here. Oh yeah. I am taking too much time to do this, but I wanna make it look nice. We're gonna go in with our pickle. A little onion right here. Ooh, I'm opening the sport peppers for the first time. I'm excited about this. Look how cute these are. These are kind of mondo, so I'm gonna just use, I can find some little ones in there. There you go. Just remove the stems here, why not? Don't want to be eating stems with it. Sport pepper. A little zigzag of mustard. And then finally, le piece de resistance, celery salt. And here we go, the homemade Chicago-style hot dog. Dragged through the garden, as they sometimes say. All right, so before we take a bite of this thing, I think we should go get a real Chicago-style hot dog from an actual stand just to compare and see how we did. We're gonna take this thing to go here. Boom, just like the stand. Mush. Ooh, nice line. Can I do the 2 hot dog meal, please? Can I do that with sport peppers as well?
That's 1 hot dog. Or 2 hot dogs.
Yeah, well, both with hot peppers.
Everything hot dog.
Everything is, sir.
And
I'll do an RC.
RC.
Hey, thank you. Sack secured. All right, we got our classic RC and a nice greasy hot sack of dogs. Got a 2 dog combo here, because 1 is hardly ever enough. Look at this little guy. He's cute. All right, so no poppy seeds on the bun. That's bizarre. But you can see those little sport peppers, onions, relish, tomato. I think the celery salt they put on the side at this place, which is interesting. But they have a Vienna beef dog. But all right, let's take a bite here. See what we got. Cleanse the palate. Yeah, like I said, the celery salt is not on that. And that might be on me for not opening the bag and putting the celery salt on. But fantastic little litmus test there. Let's open ours up. You kind of already know what this looks like, but oh yeah. All right, look at that thing. Survived the travel. Ours is definitely a little more robust. So, all right, I think I just gotta do the thing. Oh, wow. Tell you what, the dog is a lot smokier, but the texture, I mean, look at that. Look at the comparison there. I don't know if you can kind of see in the dogs themselves. Theirs is a little more red, a little more pink, I would say. The emulsification on both are great, maybe a little better on the original. The bun is a lot softer on the original. You can tell here, look at the squeeze test from ours, even though it's steamed, and the squeeze test from that. That's just industrial baking at its finest. Super soft, but I don't hate the kind of like chew that you get off of the actual bun there. And that pickle's interesting too, because it's a little more fresh than like a classic, I would say like regular jarred Clausen, right? Our pickle right here is a little greener, a little more crunchy. I have to take a second bite, I think. It's shocking how similar they taste. Our relish is probably a little sweeter than the normal relish on this bun, or I just added a little more, but you can see, look at that neon green just kind of hanging onto the bun there. But we have to talk about this, the balance of the Chicago dog. You got the salty beef frank on a soft, supple bun that kind of cradles everything. You have the, when they're in season, the sweetness and the brightness from the tomatoes, the crunchy vinegar from both the pickles and the spiciness and the crunchy vinegar from the sport peppers, and that allium savory onionness from the onions, the onionness. And then of course the celery salt, which I think is the aromatic that really like makes Chicago dog what it is. If you were to add ketchup on this, it might be too sweet because the relish itself is very sweet as well. Could you do it? Sure, but like I don't recommend it. Of course the mustard with that savory, punchy note too. It's just balanced in a bun, really, is at the end of the day. And I think our version is quite similar. It's definitely different. The bun is a different experience, right? I would say this is more of a Chicago dog Robusto, and this is the classic softy. I can literally like form this and just probably eat it in 3 bites, but I won't do that because I mean that's on the Patreon. I would say we did it. We made a Chicago dog from scratch. It's quite similar. It's also a little different. Of course, you're gonna get that, but I enjoy both. And right now, just because, I mean, maybe it's just because I put like a bunch of time into this, I'm really enjoying this one. So, cheers. It's a mess no matter how you eat it, no matter which dog. I guess we should answer the question, was it worth it? Was it worth making a hot dog from scratch? Short answer, no. The thing is that, at least here in Chicago, there are literally more hot dog stands than there are McDonald's, right? It's not hard to get one of these things. Mind you, for a lunch special, for 2 fries and a drink, it's $11. Go there and spend $5 and just grab yourself a dog on any street corner, essentially. and they're gonna be perfect. The industrial food complex has kind of made it super easy and cheap for each ingredient of this dog to come together as one for that Chicago style dog, and we gotta take advantage of that. However, I'm not gonna stop you from making your hot dog from scratch because you can learn a lot by making this. I mean, we baked. We made a emulsified sausage. It's kind of like an advanced level charcuterie item. We made relishes. We made our own mustard from scratch. I mean, there's a lot of lessons and cool takeaways that you can learn by making a hot dog from scratch. So it's a fun exercise. It's something you can kind of check off your bucket list, and I'm definitely glad we did it today. So, also, of course, if you're not in Chicago and you can't get a Chicago dog, then yeah, it's worth making, you know, or at least buying and, you know, making it at the crib with pre-made ingredients. But I'm not going to stop you. Have fun with it. Live your life. Thank you so much for coming on this tubular adventure with me. If you liked the video, go ahead and give it a like. It helps us out. If you're new to the Chansky, subscribe to the Chansky. If you're not new to the Chansky, hi. Welcome back. Massive shout out to this book right here. This was what a lot of the information in this video came from. Made in Chicago by Monica Eng and David Hammond. Great book. You can pick up a copy. I'll leave a link below if you want. If you're into Chicago food, this is a cool read. Also, massive shout out to my sausage daddies, Joe Yim, Bradley Robinson, and Tyler, aka the Sausage King of Connecticut. You guys rock. You really sherped me and helped me kind of like learn to make sausage better. Showed me the right information. Let me borrow your gear. So you guys are beasts. Go check those guys out too if you haven't seen their channels. The best way to support the channel is the Grocery Fund, aka the Patreon. It helps us put the mustard on the dog, bake the bread, eat the dog, all of the above. We really appreciate it if you can help financially, but if not, no worries. Regardless, come say what's good in Discord. We're cooling, we're chatting, we're talking about dogs, life, friendship, neon green relish. You get the idea. It's a good time, so come introduce yourself. If you love to cook, it's the place for you. That is all I got for you from today. I hope you enjoyed this one. This is a long time coming. We finally did it. We made a dog from scratch, so I appreciate you watching here until the end. And I'm gonna go take a very long nap, so until next time. I'm actually gonna go eat hot dogs right now.